Welcome to Mastering the Art of Success. I'm your host, Debbie DiMaggio. We are here today with Laura Eklund. Welcome, Laura.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So excited to have you. And I'm sorry we don't have Preston, your son, with us. He is such a great asset to your team. So young, but so talented. So let me properly introduce you. The Eklund Real Estate Group, led by Laura Eklund, are real estate agents in Rocklin, California, with Realty One Group. More than advisors, they champion your goals with precision, insight, and relentless commitment. Their work goes beyond transactions. They create enduring success stories. With over 250 million in career sales and more than 500 transactions, the team ranks among the top 1% of real estate professionals nationwide. Whether buying your first home or selling a luxury estate, they deliver exceptional service, strategic negotiation, and results tailored to your goals. From first time introductions to closing signatures, the team orchestrates each step with precision and direct discretion, ensuring every moment is as seamless as it is significant. Love these photos.
That was kind of hard
Well,
sorting from just with myself.
yeah. It's always a lot to hear things read about you and then watching you yourself. Well, welcome. So I am very visual, and so I like to paint a picture of my guests. So you live in the Rocklin, Sacramento area. Tell us about how where you grew up, what life was like, and then did you know when you were younger where you'd be today selling real estate and selling real estate with your son?
No, I don't know that anyone actually, when they're younger, they're like, I want to sell homes. I just don't know that that is a thing. Developers, yes. Real estate agents, I just think people kind of fall into it. I was born and raised in Redding, California. I'm not sure if you're familiar with where that is up north. Uh,
Okay.
it's pretty much like 1,000 degrees in the summer. So if we're 100 here, it's like 109, and there's no delta breeze. So it's very hot. Um, yeah, and so that I was born and raised there. My parents own a nursery. They actually started their business on my birthday, which just happens to be Earth Day. So uh, it's kind of funny because I'm like, oh, Earth Day, and that's when your business was established. So I grew up basically being a little entrepreneur. I had like sales that I was doing in the nursery, selling to customers. So I kind of started that little entrepreneur spirit when I was younger. And it was non-negotiable when we were younger. Like we had to get up and hustle and do the things that we didn't want to do. There was no sleeping in on Saturdays and like you have to work, and there's plenty of weed pulling for everyone. So, yeah, that's where I started.
That's pretty well, yes, just your whole background totally gave you. I can see now where your work ethic comes from and following your parents. And that's now my son works for us now too. And it's so weird. And I'm sure this is with you too. So your son Preston, my son Chase, when he's I hear him saying things and I'm like, there no other young realtor would know how to say the things or what to say, but because our sons have heard us all their life, it's like it just comes naturally. And when your son, I have to tell you how we met, so or tell the audience how we met. I think you set your son out on a job, gave him a task, go out and talk to all the agents in California so you can start to do referrals, pass referrals to one another. And you're in the Sacramento area and I'm in the East Bay, and that's about an hour and a half away. So obviously we don't work in our areas. And he called me up, and I was, because we're both in BNI, Business Networking International, and he called me up. And first of all, he was darling. And I asked him how and why he happened to call me. And when I asked him how old he was, I was just blown away. I said, you need to talk to my son and get him to do the same job what you're doing because you are so good at it. And I just immediately fell in love with him. And I will say about referrals, whether in any type of business, he was so personable. And I always love supporting young people. But he he was just so kind and so helpful. So when he called me, I did not know I was in a BNI chapter. I did not know about BNI real estate chapter that is nationwide. It's because of him. I think he's 24, 25. He introduced me to that chapter, and that's how I met you and all the other amazing agents that I've been networking with who when I tell people I'm in this BNI networking group, and let me tell you, if I refer you anyone in this group, they are go-getters. They're like me times 100. Everyone worked so hard. We all care so much, and we all are at the top of our game because we care and we are knowledgeable, and we do. We have at least 3 meetings a month, just with our BNI group, and so I just want to commend him and say, "Good job, Mom. You did a great job." So
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. He is a good kid. I am very
and
proud
when
of him.
when we were chatting, I said, I said, I just referred some clients to 4 other areas, Lake Tahoe, Reno, and 2 other areas. And I said, they're looking for an investment, and I'm going to send them your area. I don't think they thought of Sacramento, but I think it's a great area. And I'm going to have you tell us a little bit more about your area. And I referred him, my clients, to you guys, and you guys sold a house to them in the first couple of weeks, and it was the
Yeah.
perfect location for them. And so that's how it happens, how referrals happen. It's just that connection and outreach. If he didn't reach out to me, I would have never known you guys. And you actually, we just closed a deal again because of Preston. You have a friend or a colleague in Grass Valley, and he gave her my name, and we just closed last week on a small house in Berkeley because there again,
Love it.
Preston, he's always thinking, and so he's incredible. So let's there's so much to talk about. Okay, you've built a team that's reached the top 1% nationwide with over 250 million in career sales. What was the turning point? Because and how long ago did you start real estate? But what was the turning point that took you from individual agent to leading a high performing team? And give us some highlights on how you transitioned into doing so.
So I started, Preston was actually 3 when I started. This is, I would never really want to admit this to many, but I had a babysitter plan because I was meeting with my broker. And I said, I'm going to have to cancel. My babysitter canceled on me. And he said, no, bring him. And so my broker, I brought him and he sat on my lap, fell asleep on me. And I'm like, this is so awkward. And he's like, I don't care. He's like, I'm here to interview you. Like, it's fine. And that was my first brokerage. And I was their second agent. And I was there for 12 until my new broker relentlessly recruited me. And then I had switched to Realty One Group. But I feel like my business pivoted because I was with a small outfit and, it was a mom and pop place and they just you're constantly reinventing the wheel where at Realty One, like things were already in place. And I just felt like it was a changer to go from this little place, solo agent over to Realty One. And that's where I met my business partner and we started a team and we had a team for all the way up until last year when Preston and I decided to go out on our own so that I could pour all of my time and energy into him. Because I mean, ultimately, I would like him just to take all of my business. And,
Absolutely.
when you a full team, you can't, you're pouring into people that, they're 1 foot's in, 1 foot's out. And then, I'm like, no, I really want to just focus on him. So that's what I did last year.
Nice. And so is that when you saw your business scale when you went out on your own, or had it been scaling?
It had been scaling when I switched companies in
Okay.
2015. And then I started going to Brian Buffini, and then I got into coaching with Tom Ferry. And I just think meeting people at a high level, it just pushes you to do things you are uncomfortable and you're maybe fearful for, but it pushes you to accelerate to that next level. Where I was just with
That's
that, the little mom and pop place, and they were like, "You're the top producer, yay you!" But it never pushed me because I was like, I mean, at the time when I left, we had like 50 agents, but I was always the top dog. But there wasn't anyone to really challenge me because I mean that was it. And then when I went to the new place, I'm like, looking around, there's a lot of people that did a lot of business, and that pushed me. I thrive in that kind of environment. And that's why I love our BNI group. Like my BNI chapter is great, but I feel like I get more ideas and people challenge me more in our group because we've got our little subgroups. But
Right.
it is a mindset thing where you are operating at a different level. And if you're in a group of people that they're like, oh, my business is, not doing great, blah, blah, or you're in a group where people are like, how can we do better? We need to grind, we need to do this. And they're thinking outside of the box, you're going to grow automatically. So for
Absolutely.
me, I loved being surrounded by people that want to elevate themselves and just be at another level.
Yeah, I think that's the what's so great about this BNI group that we're part of, the real estate group, is we all, well, one thing is we all share. Everyone shares, and
Yeah.
everyone is so welcoming, and they share everything. And then someone will have an idea, or someone will ask a question, and then 10 people will give them an answer, or it's just everyone's boosting everyone. And back years ago, 20, 35 years ago, I just said we're colleagues, not competitors. And when we help one another, it always comes back, and that happens to be the giver's gain in BNI. But
Yeah.
you just feel when you're helping someone else, and then it comes back. I mean, so many times, you give to someone, and it just comes back, and maybe in a totally different way. So your philosophy goes beyond transactions to creating enduring success stories. What does that actually look like in practice for a client during a deal?
As far as a success story,
Yeah, sure.
I mean, there's so many clients that started out just a client and now they are personal friends. You get to know these people at a whole nother level, and you're being invited to their their weddings and baby showers and stuff. And you're like, and when you sit people down and they think they can't afford a home, and then you're sitting across the table from them and they're signing the documents, crying. Oh my gosh, we made this happen. A perfect example was Preston and I, it was funny because he actually played football with this guy, and his aunt is just like, she is my cheerleader. She refers me so much business. And so basically I've helped so many of the family members are like, I'm kind of like their realtor. So he years ago had helped bartend at some of my client parties 2 years in a row. And he goes, one of these days, Laura, you're gonna help me buy a
Oh,
house. And he was so young, and I was like, "Oh, that's so sweet." Anyways, they were just getting beat out by everyone last year because it was a small price point, and she found out she was pregnant. They were married. She found out she was pregnant. They were so stressed because they're like, "We just want to bring a baby home to a house," and because her price point was so competitive, it was like 10 offers on one home. And so I felt like they were getting discouraged. And so I called pretty much every realtor I knew in that area. And I'm like, what do you have coming on the market or not coming on the market that we can get into? Like, I'll reciprocate. Like, tell me what I need to do. And one of my friends, she goes, you know what? I have a house and they may be willing to do it off market. And it was the cutest house ever. Like, it was a darling neighborhood. And I told them, I said, here's the house, you're gonna buy it, and if you don't, I'm going to purchase it because it's such a great. So they
I
ended
love
up
that.
for $400,000. The seller
Wow.
gave them credit. It appraised for 465.
Wow. That's so incredible.
So
You know,
they didn't think that that was possible for them because they were just everything that we were showing them was like rah, rah. They weren't
yeah.
excited about it, and they really were super excited, even though it needed some renovation. I mean, you had a Pepto-Bismol like bathroom, but yeah, they're so delighted. And then each time they do something, they'll send me pictures. So I love that. I
Right.
love that people take the time and they're like, Laura would love to see what we've done, and they're so proud, which is even better.
Oh, it
Yeah.
makes you feel so good. A lot of times, for like you were doing with them, or hand holding them, or making sure, like, mentally they're getting through the process and we keep them engaged and we keep them upbeat. We know that eventually they're going to find a house. It just takes time, but they get discouraged. And I was working with the client that you guys referred indirectly, and it was just tough. And she was moving. She doesn't have a husband or a partner, and we just did a lot of hand holding. And she said, "How do you do this time after time?" I said, "Because we will get to the other end of this, and it's going to be great." And we did, and it was difficult, and she was emotional, but we just talked to her. I just got a text this morning. We closed last week. I got a text, and she just happened to be out on her run, and she saw these rocks, and it said, "Just breathe." And I said, "Did you paint?" She said, "No, I found them." And I'm like, "Oh my God." I mean, it was just so, I was so touched that she texted me to let me know she's now moved out of the area. But and it was tough, but we got through it. And I think that's why we keep coming back for stories like that, for stories like mine, just to know that the people are super happy. So, yes, that's why we do it. So, tell us a little bit about your regions because I feel so, you know, 400,000. I can't believe you can buy something anywhere in this world for that price. So, this cute young families now, bought a house and getting settled because I think that we're in the San Francisco Bay Area and it's so high. And I think if people do want to get a home, and Sacramento is only an hour and a half away from the Bay Area, it just seems like such a cute area. And I'm sure there's all price points, but tell us a little bit about your area. Go from the young family area and maybe what's on the higher end and what does that look like? Because I think there's a lot of referrals to be driven your way.
So there's certain areas, I mean, I wouldn't say if you're looking for a house that's like you could feel safe in, you're at the probably like the 515 range, good neighborhood, clean neighborhood. Um, and homes go all the way up to like 4 million.
Yeah, I
And
bet.
what are you looking for? Are you looking for property? A lot of people, I mean, my feeder area is your area and the Bay Area because people want to come this way. We've got wonderful schools here in Placer County. And so a lot of people come to this area for the schools, very family oriented, like I said, and it's just it's clean, it's nice, it's safe. I
Yeah.
mean, very safe. It's interesting because I'm in Rotary. I'm getting off topic, but I am in Rotary, and
Uh-huh.
we have the chief of police came in and he gave us the numbers. So I love to see stats, right? I love to see the numbers. Show me the data. And actually, the last 3 years, the crime has gone down in
Wow,
Rocklin, which
that's
is
great.
amazing because it actually shows crime going down and it shows more people moving into the area. So you're thinking, that's fantastic.
So give us a visual. I know where Sacramento is, downtown Sacramento. Name some of the areas that you serve and where is Rockland in relation to Sacramento?
So so Sacramento, where our state capital is, you've got a lot of different areas over there. You've got Citrus Heights, you've got Fair Oaks, you've got that little area there. And by the way, we have the Oakland A's here.
We've lost everyone.
Yeah, they're not claiming Sacramento. They're like, don't put anything by Sacramento. We're still Oakland A's. But that's amazing that they're here because it's bringing a lot of revenue to the town. Anyways,
Wow.
yeah, it's wonderful. I just went to an A's game actually 2 nights ago. Preston and I did. So,
Oh,
so from Sacramento to Rockland, it's about like 25 minutes. So once you go, like you're on your way to Tahoe off of 80. I don't know which way, like you go to Tahoe, if you go 50 or you go 80. But if you do, then you're headed this way and you would be in county. And so Placer County, you've got Loomis, you've got Newcastle, Lincoln,
um,
Roseville, Flynn, Auburn, all of those areas, all the way up to Tahoe. Believe it or not, Placer County ends and we go all the way to Tahoe. So I service pretty much the majority of my business is in Placer County because that's where we do life. That's where my BNI chapter is, my Rotary, where my kids grew up. so that's, I mean, that's where you're getting referrals is people that you live and do life with.
Right, absolutely. So, and then how far are you to Tahoe? You're pretty close to Tahoe from there too, I would imagine.
I'm an hour and 45 minutes.
So you get a lot of the best if you and you're close to the Bay Area and you're close to Lake Tahoe. I bet during COVID, did a lot of people move up that way?
A lot of people moved from Sacramento to that was more of a feeder. Actually, if you look at the numbers, besides where your people are coming from, it's Sacramento to Placer County is the number one amount of people that are coming their way.
Wow.
So yes, people were actually moving up into the hills during the pandemic. We had a
Yeah.
lot of,
It's
or they were just completely moving out of the state, one or the other.
exactly. And so what kind of jobs are up there? Are people working virtually? Are they commuting? What sorts of jobs are people doing when they move up that way?
So I have a lot of people that are moving from your area, and all of them are in tech. Every
Oh,
single one of them. Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
And are they commuting or is it just virtual?
Now just virtual. And then we just
Oh,
opened up Bosch
okay.
appliances, so that's actually bringing in a lot of business here. We do have a lot of military, so I do a lot of work with a lot of veteran families, which I absolutely love. They're wonderful people to work with, and they are just Johnny on the spot. They know what they want. They're super disciplined and just amazing.
Yeah, I
So,
love that.
yeah,
Follow.
they are. I mean, anything you need, they're like, "What do you need?" They're just very detail
Yeah,
oriented.
I
Appreciate.
love that.
Yeah.
So you say we're real estate agents, but we do whatever. If someone has a service, product, or brand, we kind of do all the same thing. We're a business, we're a small business. So share some of your, and you work with Brian Buffini and Tom Ferry, I believe you said. Share some, give us some Buffini tips for our viewers. What sort of things do you do? Because I know they hold you really accountable. And share what your program's like for people who would like, consider doing that program. Let's start with Buffini, and then we'll go over to Tom Ferry.
Okay, perfect. So, when I switched over from my last company to Realty One, this is embarrassing to say. I was actually on a panel of like 200 people, and I just basically, there's a lot of like young agents in the group, and I was like, I'm going to be super transparent. I don't care how bad it sounds. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to be real. And so basically, when I came over, I had already been in the business for 12 years. And I know this is terrible, but well, first of all, I'd never been to a seminar like a rah-rah pump you up, which I was hooked. I was hooked. I love that stuff. I didn't realize it until I went. But Brian Buffini, his whole thing is keeping in touch with your database. And I did not do that. 12 years in the business, I had them on like a spreadsheet and that's it. Like I wasn't dripping on my clients. I wasn't doing pop buys. And that's what they really encourage you to do. Do pop buys. Like check in on your clients. What do you need? Do you need vendors? And then they also encourage you to do client parties, which I started my first client party in 2015 and I was terrified. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what if nobody shows up?" I've got this food, I've got everything. But I was so delighted. I had 70 people show up at my first one, which I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful." I was literally so anxious, like, are people going to show up? RSVP'd, but you never know.
So tell us, how did you do the party? What was it like? Walk us through the steps, because what I believe is when you do an event, whether people show or not, there's a before, a middle, and after. And so give us the scenario of what you did to create that event. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. So, gosh, it was so long ago. That was 11 years ago. But I had it at a restaurant. We had the entire downstairs. I made sure that I had prizes to give away to people. And so we played this big, huge, it wasn't Wheel of Fortune, but it was more so I had this big, huge board and it was like, guess how much this house sold for, or kind of games like that. It was interactive and it was, I forget how we even played it, but people were on like teams per table. And so they were like the shout out answers. And then I had like figuring out how many people were at a table, then everybody got like a $10 gift card or what have you. And then I also had this big flat screen TV that anyone that was going to give me a review would be entered into the drawing.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's amazing. And people are like, I already gave you one. Can I give you another? I'm like, yeah, you can try. So
That's
that was,
great. All right,
and then
we go to a quick commercial break. We went over. We'll be right back with Laura Eklund of the Eklund Group.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. Yeah, it feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical. Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk.
Welcome back to Mastering the Art of Success. I'm your host, Debbie DiMaggio. We are here with Laura Eklund. So, Laura, I had to cut you off. So, go back to the party. You had 75 people show up for your party. You had no idea how many people would show up. You were at a restaurant and you created some games. Finish up what you were telling me about the party and how it ended, and if there were any referrals down the road after that.
I couldn't quantify it that night, but I can tell you that my business is 100% referral. And the
Nice.
people who are attending those events, those are my people. Like they refer me their friends and family. And so the only other time I ever did any kind of advertisement ever was in 2020. I started doing Google Ads, which was amazing. That was just a little short, like 1 year window. And that was the
Nice.
only time I ever spent anything on leads or anything. So
Wow.
I I
How
feel very
often how often do you host an event these days now that you started doing the first one?
so yeah, in 2015 I was doing 2 a year, and then I got up to all the way until 2020 I was doing 3 a year, and then I tapered down to 1 a year.
Wow. So just top three, what did you do? One was a restaurant. Give us a couple others that you where you did the event.
So I rented out a winery, which was a blast. So you have it's family comes. So your kids, I hire babysitters to watch the kids play games, do a bounce house. We have all kinds of activities for them so that, I don't tell anyone that anyone's watching their children so that they just don't, get liquored up and they forget about them. But basically, it's like, I want you to have a good time. And so we have it catered. And so they're just wine tasting, and then we're bringing in food. And it's just the ambiance is lovely. And then I hire a photographer to take pictures of the family, and people love that. And then the candid pictures, or with their family, or by themselves, or whatever. It's wonderful because you've got a great backdrop. Second one I would have to say would be bowling with Santa, that
That's
was amazing.
cute.
Amazing. Well, we rented out the bowling alley and the whole side, and then kids on the other side were coming over. I'm like, oh yeah. And so I had to let them know, like, oh, it's just for my people here, Santa. And but it was
Yeah.
so good though, because he was taking these awesome shots. And what I loved is we did it so early. We did it December, and then I
Okay.
sent out like family photos, and so many people used their cards or they were posting them on social media. So that was wonderful. Um, Another Santa one. I'll give you four, my top four. Actually, I'm gonna give you five.
Okay.
Um,
Sounds great.
so the other one we did, because we would do Santa things every year, right? 2 years ago we did the Grinch, and I thought this could be amazing or this could be an epic fail because he's kind of scary.
I was going to
The
say, yeah.
guy the guy that we hired was like in character. Like he was so snarky and funny and just like his mannerisms, the way everything. He nailed it. And kids were like either screaming or they're like, you don't scare me. And so it was funny because parents no, shoving the kid on the lap and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." So that
Wow.
was a great turnout. And then I always do like once a year, I'll always try to rent out a movie theater. People
Oh,
love that. They just love it. It's an easy one because you don't have to entertain at all. It's just like people show up, you've got all the things. You bring a goodie bag and everyone gets popcorn and you get like a
I
drink
love
and then I sneak in candy. So I have like candy that I give out to people when they walk in. And then I
one. I
always
love
yeah, I always do a big event, and anyone that has referred me business or they've closed a deal with me, bought or sold, they're entered into the drawing. So it's basically a weekend getaway, and that
nice.
consists of um, you've got like $1,500 worth of gift cards because you can fly out of here, you can rent an Airbnb. I also give like, oh, here's $200 to go get a new outfit at Nordstrom's or whatever. Here's gas uh, to the airport, and people go bananas. And so if their name's drawn, then I have this big, huge check that I give them. Everyone leaves with something. They love that, and the theme is different every single year. Um, and then we'll play games, not because I'm not a game player, but it's fun things that people actually get involved with. An example would
Right.
be I had 30 things where people sometimes just don't want to mingle with other people. And I'm like, okay, there's a $200 gift card if you can find all these people in here. Like this person just moved to Nashville,
Oh,
Tennessee, but she hadn't left yet. She was still there. Or this person, I worked with them for 8 years to find a house. Like it was just different scenarios. Like, oh, this. So people had to go and ask, like, is this you? And it was great because like,
very purposeful. They had something to actually talk about rather than small talk. I love that.
yes, yes. And then people kind of got to know each other. Like, oh my goodness. And then like
Right.
one of the games we played, and I was shocked at how involved people got. It was per table, but it was like, okay, if you have $200 in your wallet, put it out. And then that would give your group like 2 points. Or if you have my business card, that's 5 points. So we were naming off all these things, and people were like, oh my gosh, I changed my purse because of the party. But people were super involved. I was kind of shocked at how like competitive people are. We've done the
Yeah.
music trivia, music bingo, like people get involved. And so the parties are just fun. We have, like I said, I rent a photographer, we've got a photo booth, we've got all the things. It's always catered. And like I said, everybody leaves with a prize. And then I do probably 50 raffle giveaways. And they're not
Wow.
cheap. They're like 50 to $100 each. So the big event it's up there in price, but it's
Yeah.
all magnificent and it's always just wonderful.
Wow. That is impressive. Okay, send me an invite. I want to come to your next event.
Fun,
That sounds
fun.
incredible.
Yeah.
That is a lot of effort, but clearly it pays off because people don't forget you. They're so thankful that you invited them, and they probably made a friend or two, and and especially people coming new into town, and they might not have a lot of a community yet, and so it's such a great way to interact rather than sending a postcard, or it's like getting people together, and people need community. So I love that. So any other, do you want Tom Ferry or Brian Buffini's? Any more suggestions on that?
So Tom Ferry, actually, I had switched to Buffini because I once, and I think it's great, but I had been to so many seminars for like 3 years. I felt like it was kind of the same stuff. I kind of knew what their system was all about, staying in touch with your clients, doing Popeyes. And then Tom Ferry's more like, this is what you need to be doing. I had hired a coach through them. I don't have a coach anymore, but um, just great connectors. And he's about, let me tell you about this new product that will help your business. These are the things you need to do to elevate. And so he's more, I don't even know the word that I'm trying to use to articulate who he is. But if you haven't been to a Tom Ferry event, I highly recommend you go. He's got a lot of energy in general, just very knowledgeable. He brings on great guests where it makes you think. You're like, okay, you know. A perfect example would be I went to one of his events. It was a very specific event where it was about goals. And so he had us in our room and he's like, if money was not an option, what would you want? And the second thing on my list I wrote, I would like a house on a lake.
Mhm.
And I purchased a house on a lake in 2019. Completely forgot that I wrote it down until years later. I was like, "Get out of town. That's amazing." I'm
I
a
totally agree.
manifesting. You can manifest anything that you want if you put the time, energy, love, and believe it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, have you read any of my book yet? Mindset in Motion?
I
Have you?
bought it. I've read several.
Yeah, there's a lot
Not,
of that in.
I need to get into it though. Yeah, I've been
Yeah, there's
busy.
a lot about that. The believe part is you don't have to care. It doesn't matter how you're going to get there. Just write it out like you did that. And then there's activation and work that head goes with it in tandem. So tell us, how did you get involved in real estate? Was that something you always did, or some people start as doctor, not some, well, there's lawyers, there's a lot of teachers, people have careers before they go into real estate. I didn't. I was 29 when I got into it, but um, yeah, what was your trajectory into real estate?
So when I was pregnant with Preston, I ended up having a realtor that just was not great. I mean, I was 8 months pregnant and we had been looking for months, and there was a house that we were like, oh my goodness, this is the house. And she said, I'll let the agent know that we're going to write up an offer. I'm going to the fair. We're going to meet up in a couple days. And again, I'm young and I'm like, well, won't it go pending? And she goes, no, it's fine. I'll let them know that we're interested. And I'm like, okay. And at the time I thought it was weird, and it was. And so, of course, I had my parents drive down from Reading 2.5 hours just so we can, because it was vacant, so we could peek in. I can show them and to the house, and it's pending. And I was devastated.
Oh,
What in the world? And so we called up and she goes, no, that's got to be a mistake. And she called up and she goes, no, they went pending. I'm like, why didn't we write a offer? And it's just backpedaling. And she's like, okay, not a big deal. Let's get back on. I'm like, no, we're gonna take a
mhm,
break. And really what I did was, because there were so many other things that she had done that I was just like,
right.
not feeling it. And
Yeah,
so from experience of feeling so let down, and I think because I was in a vulnerable space because I was months pregnant, that
yeah,
I just like, not my person. And so from that experience, I'm like, I don't want anybody else to go through what I went through. And I
right,
can run circles around that person, and I do. And
right.
yeah, it really motivated me to make sure that people ended up with excellent service. And that's what I do provide.
Right. Excellent. So tell me, what is that excellent service for you? What does that mean to someone who doesn't know? I know all the things you do, and I'm similar, but what are some of those strengths that you do that people who are looking to buy a house or sell a house with you, what would you say to them, how you work and operate?
I would say that communication is key because if she would have just told me, I reached out to the agent and the agent said, no, we need to meet immediately, that would have been great communication. But there
Right,
was no communication because she didn't reach out to the agent because the agent would have most likely said, if you're interested, write up an offer.
right,
Uh, but I think communication is key because when people are not communicated to and they have to then reach out to you, like you're not doing your job
right.
at all.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of times where people just they don't know what to expect. And so there is a lot of hand-holding and you have to be a truth teller as well because I can come into your house and look around and say this looks marvelous and if it doesn't and we're leaving money on the table because I can't be truthful and all the things you need to do to your house. You need to be super transparent with your clients. Um, Being available, but letting them know what your time of availability is. I mean, for
Right,
years, I basically said, "I'm available 24/7." Well, who says that? That's you're nobody's available 24/7, and you're putting
right,
out the wrong expectations. So, setting the right expectations with my clients, like, "You have an issue, like, I want you to call me directly." Like, I am here to hold your hand, help you through. And then also having vendors that I work with in the
so good.
trade that will get them to the finish line. Because oftentimes that's another thing where people don't have the people, or their realtor refers them people that just aren't great. And then you thought you had a solution and now you have more of a problem.
Right, absolutely. I worked with a publicist once, and she said, "What's the biggest, tell me about your business." I said, "Well, my service providers are everything to me." And she was shocked. She was like, I go, "No, those people are gold. I love my plumber. I mean, I love my sewer lateral guy. Like, I love my home inspector." So it as a realtor, I always say in one of my real estate books, we're the captain of the ship. We have a lot of support below us, and we have to really be grateful for those people because they make us rise. We're the conduit, and we're communicating. But if someone calls and says, "I need a roofer," don't say, "I don't know." Say, "Let me check and I'll get right back to you." Maybe your roofer's retired and you need another one. But I think I think what sets us apart is we say, "Yes, yes, yes, we'll get it to you. We'll get you the information." And I think a lot of times some of the newer agents are like, "I don't know." Well, someone says, "I don't know," I feel like they're saying, "I don't care," because with Google and ChatGPT and Claude and other realtors that will help you, it's like you can find the answer. Um, okay, because it's getting towards the end. You do have a younger son, so I always say, what would you tell your 25-year-old self? So tell us some lessons that you have been bestowed to Preston. What are you telling him? Give it, he started out as a young agent. He's still young, but what are you telling him other than what he's already learned through osmosis because he's been watching you since he was a baby? So share some lessons that you've taught him.
I would say every transaction will teach you something and
Yes.
make a mental note. Um, and I will also tell you, be careful of the toes that you step on today. It could be connected to the butt you have to kiss tomorrow because in this industry, we run into people again and again. And if you've done someone dirty,
Yeah.
that is noted. There's plenty of times where I have built relationships with other agents, and there's been multiple agents or multiple offers, and they have given me preferential treatment, which I'm super grateful for. And
Yes.
they've taken my client's offer because of a good transaction. So I've told him, like, you have to be careful. Like, even if someone is super irritating in a transaction, like, make sure you do not ruin that relationship by trying to be right. Because
Right.
sometimes it doesn't make like who cares if you're right? Like, let's just
Right.
make the work. And I think that a lot of agents get caught up in their ego. And I'm like, there's been a couple situations where we've worked with agents and it's just like, ay, ay, ay. But I think because I've been in it for 23 years that I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, let it go. It's not that big of a deal. I promise you. Let's just
Yeah.
get through the production and let's shine and let's make it super smooth. Because, like I said, you do run into each other again and again. So,
Right.
and
So
also
true.
telling yourself, like, don't sweat the small stuff. Some of the stuff I was like, oh, another thing that I did when I was younger is I took everyone on. And I don't do that now. I haven't done that for like probably 10 years. I'm like, not everyone is for working with me. And that's okay. But I would
Right.
take everybody on, and I'm like, energy is energy, whether it's good or bad. And I don't have the bandwidth to take on negative energy. And so I just don't. I'm like, no, it's not me, it's you. I don't say that. but
Absolutely.
but it is
It's true.
true though.
It's a small community where we work in where, you work where I work. It's very small. It's everyone knows everyone, and we know, and what you're saying, just highlighting it, is like we know how you're going to work, and so people want to work with you, but they also know someone who's not easy to work with, and that's why you get the deal or the opportunity to rise up, because they don't want to work with that person because they have a reputation. There's one agent years ago, she was known for, making a really good offer and then renegotiating. And so why would
Oh,
client in that situation?
yeah.
It's like, why would I do that to my client? It's gonna looks good here, but it's gonna turn out bad. So that's the other thing. And one of the other things I always do is I'll have client or agents will call me. They said, "Oh, I've called 3 agents and no one responded to me or picked up the phone." And I said, "Yeah, what do you need?" And I explained whatever it was. And they're like, "Thank you so much." I don't know who those people are now, but I'm sure they remembered me because I offered to help them. And, it doesn't hurt to give people some time and to be nice to them.
Yeah.
Any last advice that you give to Preston or your younger self?
Yeah, I mean, just going back to the don't sweat the small stuff because I mean, life goes by so fast.
And when you're
And
in, it's stressful sometimes, not all the times, but it's like, you know, there's a lot of parties in the transaction. So, someone could have a bad day that day. It's just like, it's going to be over and everything will be done. And then it's like it never happened. It's kind of like childbirth.
yes, exactly.
Some labors are easier than others.
Yes, I agree with you. I
So
agree.
tell us, how do people get a hold of you? And yeah, how and who are people that you're looking for to serve, or agent connections, buyer seller connections, and then how do they get a hold of you?
Oh, I love agent connections because
Yeah,
it's basically like, here's my people,
yeah,
and then I could just ask them, are they good people? Are they like, what kind of people are they? Because I'll take anyone on high maintenance, but as long as if they're high maintenance and kind, perfect.
yeah.
That's fine. But yes, I love working with agent referrals. Anyone that's buying or selling, investing. I mean, those are my people. 1031 exchange, I specialize in that as well. So if they're wanting to do that. And then, like I said, anyone that's Sacramento, El Dorado Hills, El Dorado County, Placer County, like that's, I love to take care of you.
That's your
And
area. That's
I like just have them call me directly, or
okay.
they can look me up on any of my platforms or email. But probably
Wonderful.
something.
And give us your website and your phone number.
It's the eklundgroup.com is our website, and my telephone number is the same forward as it is backwards. It's 916-412-9214.
Oh my God. Did you plan that or did you happen to just get that
No,
number?
no, it was a smart kid. I was giving him as my phone number, and he goes, "Did you know your number's the same forward as it is backwards?" I'm like, "What?" I go, "Are you like Rain Man or what?" And he goes, "I'm good at numbers." I said, "Yes, you are."
That is so funny. Well, Laura, thank you so much for coming today. It was wonderful. And
Yeah.
to seeing you in our next meeting and sending more clients your way because I do believe that it's so close to the area if people want to still be in the San Francisco Bay Area or work here or whatever, but that they can go buy an investment property like we referred you to someone who is buying an investment property. Great for 1031 exchange. We just closed a 1031 exchange yesterday. And with 1031 exchanges, for those who are listening, you have to go through an accommodator, exchange accommodators. Don't make a mistake. Get an agent. Call Laura, call myself. Don't mess that up so you don't have to forfeit your tax issues. So anyway, thank you, Laura, so much. It was so great to see you. Say hi to Preston. Hopefully we can get Preston and Chin on online next time.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
You're welcome.
Tune in each week for another episode of Mastering the Art of Success with host Debbie DiMaggio. Thursdays, 2 p.m. Eastern. Real stories, real strategies, real success.